Welcome to Jersey Reads the Classics, an audiobook podcast delving into the finest works of our literary masters. Unfortunately, it's read by this woman.
What the hell? Who cares? Let's go on an adventure. Hello, and welcome back to Jersey Reads the Classics with me. Yes, your host, Rosa DeCandia. In case you forgot, I know you didn't forget. Anyway, my friends, I hope you were doing well. Thank you for joining me again. I hope you are enjoying this tale because I'm enjoying reading it. I'm not going to lie. I enjoy reading all these books. Legend of Sleepy Hollow, not so much. Am I traumatized by it? I'm not traumatized. I try to make it as much as like fun as possible, but I digress. I do think Christmas Carol, though, has a lot going on, and I love it. Like I said, we've all seen a movie, a cartoon, or a stage production of the damn show. So it's nice to actually hear the tale because I've never read it. And this is, when I'm recording this and filming this, is actually the first time I'm reading it. Yes. So I'm just as surprised as you are. Hello. All right. Well, without any further ado, let's get back to, oh yes, really quickly a little, I don't normally do recaps, but I'm doing recaps for this one particular thing because it's not chapters. So at last, the last episode, Scrooge was with the ghost of Christmas present, and they were spying on the Cratchit family. And they saw all the love and all the joy, and then they see that Bob Cratchit has a lovely little family, and he has a little boy named Tiny Tim, who is handicapped. He's got a crutch, and Scrooge has been so moved by Tiny Tim that he asks Spirit, as we left off, is he gonna live? And then Spirit says, well, in the future, I see that crutch sitting there by itself like a little thingy in the corner, not touched. So, guess what? Spirit is kind of saying, no, he's gonna die. Okay, but now we are going to continue with that conversation in our book, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. We are going to rewind a couple of sentences to really play the drama here. Spirit, said Scrooge with an interest he had never felt before, tell me if Tiny Tim will live. I see a vacant seat, replied the ghost, in the poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die. No, said Scrooge. Oh, no, kind Spirit, say he will be spared. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, none other of my race, returned the ghost, will find him here. What then? If he be like to die, he had better do it and decrease the surplus population. Scrooge hung his head to hear his own words quoted by the Spirit, and was overcome with penitence and grief. You see, careful what you say, careful what you wish for. Here you go. Spirit threw that shit right back at Scrooge. Scrooge thought he was all high and mighty because he didn't give a shit about people, and now he's found himself to have a little empathy and compassion and see how beautiful Tiny Tim is a beautiful person, and now all of a sudden he cares. Can we let that sink in? Can we let that sink in? Man, said the ghost, if man you be in heart not adamant, forbear that wicked cant until you have discovered what the surplus is and where it is. Will you decide what men shall live, what men shall die? It may be that in the sight of heaven you are more worthless and less fit to live than millions like the poor man's child. Oh God, to hear the insect on the leaf pronouncing on the too much life among his hungry brothers in the dust. Damn, Spirit, he be doling out those harsh words to Scrooge, and that's what I love. It's kind of like what we're facing today, the people that have all the power. And the millions of us that are struggling, the lemmings, but we will rise up because Spirit, keep the spirit and keep the faith. Scrooge bent before the ghost's rebuke and trembling cast his eyes upon the ground. He's embarrassed, and he should be, but he raised them speedily on hearing his own name. Mr. Scrooge, said Bob, I'll give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast. The founder of the feast, indeed, cried Mrs. Cratchit, reddening. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I hope he'd have a good appetite for it. Oh, good, the bitch is like, fuck that. I'm going to beat that bitch out. I'm going to beat Scrooge out. I hate that man. But this is kind of funny. My dear, said Bob, the children, Christmas Day. It should be Christmas Day, I am sure, said she, on which one drinks the health of such an odious, stingy, hard, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you do, poor fellow. My dear, was Bob's mild answer. Christmas Day. I'll drink his health for your sake and the day's, said Mrs. Cratchit. Not for his. Long life to him. A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy, I have no doubt. Isn't that amazing? Bob Cratchit is even blessing still Mr. Scrooge, because they always say bless your enemies or bless those that you think that act so cruel, because they actually are less fortunate than you, less fortunate in good spirit and being a good human being, and Bob knows this. See? Bob's a smart man. The children drank the toast after her. It was the first of their proceedings which had no heartiness. Tiny Tim drank it last of all, but he didn't care twopence for it. Scrooge was the ogre of the family. Sorry, he is. The mention of his name cast a dark shadow on the party, which was not dispelled for full 5 minutes. See, even the mention of Scrooge is bringing them a lot of like, what the fuck is this? And why does he gotta ruin our party? It's a party and our Scrooge is a bastard. Scrooge is a bastard. Scrooge is a bastard. You would cry too if he was a friend to you. Well, he's not a friend to them, actually. If he was your boss too. There you go. I just made that up. Well, not the melody, but the words. All right. See, everybody went down a notch with Scrooge. That's the legacy Scrooge is leaving. But we are not done with the song. Okay, we're not done with the mention of this. Okay, let's go. After it had passed away, they were 10 times merrier than before, from the mere relief of Scrooge, the baleful being done with. Bob Cratchit told them how he had a situation in his eye for Master Peter, which would bring in, if obtained, full 5 and 6 pence weekly. The two young Cratchits laughed tremendously at the idea of Peter's being a man of business, and Peter himself looked thoughtfully at the fire from between his collars, as if he were deliberating what particular investments he should favor when he came into the receipt of that bewildering income. I love it. Peter's already, he's still visioning, you see? Peter is not staying in the shit that he's born into. He's like, I'm going to try to rise out of this, and I'm going to have hope. Even though right now he doesn't have the money, but he's like, something's happening for me. Something's happening. Okay, that's all I'm saying. See, let's be like Peter. Martha, who was a poor apprentice at a milliner's, then told them what kind of work she had to do and how many hours she worked at a stretch, and how she meant to lie abed tomorrow morning for a good long rest. Tomorrow being a holiday, she passed at home. Also, how she had seen a countess and a lord some days before, and how the lord was much about as tall as Peter. At which Peter pulled up his collars so high that you couldn't have seen his head if you had been there. I love that. He was like, anyway, it's his father's shirt. Remember? It's probably too big for him anyway. All this time, the chestnuts in the jug went round and round, and by they had a song about a lost child traveling in the snow from Tiny Tim, who had a plaintive little voice and sang it very well indeed. There was nothing of high mark in this. They were not a handsome family. They were not well dressed. Their shoes were far from being waterproof. Their clothes were scanty, and Peter might have known, and very likely did, the inside of a pawnbroker's. But they were happy, grateful, pleased with one another, and contented with the time. And when they faded and looked happier, yet in the bright sprinklings of the spirit's torch at parting, Scrooge had his eye upon them, and especially on Tiny Tim, until the last. Do you hear what he said? They're not all gussied up. They're not all beautified. They're regular, solemn people, but they're not solemn. They're regular people who don't have a pot to piss in, but yet they're still happy and contented and grateful, and that's the ticket. That's That's the key here. Gratitude, 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 especially now. What's the key? Gratitude. Change your attitude to gratitude and you will change your latitude, okay? By this time, it was getting dark and snowing pretty heavily. And as Scrooge and the spirit went along the streets, the brightness of the roaring fires in kitchens, parlors, and all sorts of rooms was wonderful. Here, the flickering of the blaze showed preparations for a cozy dinner with hot plates baking through and through before the fire and deep red curtains ready to be drawn to shut out cold and darkness. There were all the children of the house were running out into the snow to meet their married sisters, brothers, cousins, uncles, aunts, and be the first to greet them. Here again were shadows on the window blinds of guests assembling, and there a group of handsome girls, all hooded and fur-booted, and all chattering at once, tripped lightly off to some new neighbor's house, where, woe upon the single man who saw them enter, artful witches, well they knew it, in a glow. Of course, the single man is like, hubba, hubba, hubba. Some chicks are coming here for dinner, and I'm going to have some dessert. But if you had judged from the numbers of people on their way to friendly gatherings, you might have thought that no one was at home to give them welcome when they got there. Instead of every house expecting company and piling up its fires half chimney high. Blessings on it, how the ghost exulted, how it bared its breadth of breast, and opened its capacious palm and floated on, outpouring with a generous hand its bright and harmless mirth on everything within its reach. The very lamplighter who ran on before, dotting the dusky street with specks of light, and who was dressed to spend the evening somewhere, laughed out loudly as the spirit passed, though little kenned the lamplighter that he had any company but Christmas. And now, without a word of warning from the ghost, they stood upon a bleak and desert moor, where monstrous masses of root stone were cast about, as though it were the burial place of giants, and water spread itself wheresoever it listed, or would have done so, but for the frost that had held it prisoner, and nothing grew but moss and furze and coarse rank grass. Oh shit, where the frig are we? Down in the west, the setting sun had left a streak of fiery red, which glared upon the desolation for an instant, like a sullen eye, and frowning lower, lower, lower yet, was lost in the thick gloom of darkest night. "What place is this?" asked Scrooge. "A place where miners live, who labor in the bowels of the earth," returned the spirit. "But they know me. See, oh my God, this is dark and doof." A light shone from the window of a hut, and swiftly they advanced towards it, passing through the wall of mud and stone. They found a cheerful company assembled round a glowing fire, an old man and woman with their children and their children's children, and another generation beyond that, all decked out gaily in their holiday attire. The old man, in a voice that seldom rose above the howling of the wind upon the barren waste, was singing them a Christmas song. It had been a very old song when he was a boy, and from time to time they all joined in the chorus. So surely as they raised their voices, the old man got quite blithe and loud, and so surely as they stopped, his vigor sank again. The spirit did not tarry here, but bade Scrooge hold his robe, and passing on above the moor, sped whither? Not to see, to see. Okay, to see, S-E-A. To Scrooge's horror, looking back, he saw the last of the land, a frightful range of rocks behind them, and his ears were deafened by the thundering of water as it rolled and roared and raged among the dreadful caverns it had worn and fiercely tried to undermine the earth. Jesus, this is some dark shit. They do not show any of that. So they go to a place where people are like living in like shanties that have nothing. But they still have a Christmas spirit, a feeling of holiday, or some sort of feeling of love and light hanging out together and sharing in the holiday, even though they got nothing tangible. They don't even have what the Cratchits have, but they still have Christmas spirit in their heart. They still have the spirit, and they know they can still celebrate it because they have each other. This is some deep shit, people. Deep shit. So let's get on this. I mean, we could learn a lot from this book. I am so glad I picked this book. I mean, yeah. It's like the perfect time. for everybody to hear this friggin' book. Okay, where was I? Built upon a dismal reef of sunken rocks, some league or so from shore, on which the waters chafed and dashed the wild year through, there stood a solitary lighthouse. Great heaps of seaweed clung to its base, and storm birds, born of the wind, one might suppose, as seaweed of the water, rose and fell about it, like the waves they skimmed. But even here, two men who watched the light had made a fire that through the loophole in the thick stone walls shed out a ray of brightness on the awful sea. My God! I love it. They're showing the darkness, but then there's still a solitary light from the lighthouse and two men lighting that fire to provide light on the very dark sea. This is all metaphors, people. Metaphors for life. I mean, come on. This is some deep shit. I don't even know how many times I'm going to say that. Deep shit alert. Deep shit. Okay, here we go. Where was I? Okay. Joining their hands over the rough table at which they sat, they wished each other Merry Christmas in their can of grog, and one of them, the elder too, with his face all damaged and scarred with hard weather, as the figurehead of an old ship might be, struck up a sturdy song that was like a gale in itself. Again, the ghost sped on above the black and heaving sea, on until, being far away, as he told Scrooge, from any shore, they lighted on a ship. They stood beside the helmsman at the wheel, the lookout in the bow, the officers who had the watch, dark ghostly figures in their several stations. But every man among them hummed a Christmas tune, or had a Christmas thought, or spoke below his breath to his companion of some bygone Christmas day with homeward hopes belonging to it. See this? No matter where somebody is, what part of life they're in, wherever they are, they got their memories. And they're holding on, they're sharing it, and they're still celebrating the feeling that is going on with this particular holiday. Once again, this is just a Christmas holiday, but you can use this at any aspect of your life. Even if it's a birthday, your day of birth. Some people don't like to celebrate their birthday or are just like, I don't want to talk about my birthday. It's like, are you stupid? You're seeing another freaking year. What's the alternative? So let's celebrate. Let's go and hold on to these beautiful memories. Remember, we got memories. Even if right now things suck, they don't have to suck. Use your imagination. You know what I mean? We can always dwell. We always use our imagination or our thoughts for negative things. Let's think about the positive things. Let's start thinking the good thoughts. This is the time. Let's end this year on a good note. Personally, let's just all do it for ourselves and for others, okay? And every man on board, waking or sleeping, good or bad, had a kinder word for another on that day than on any day in the year, and had shared to some extent in its festivities, and had remembered those he cared for at a distance, and had known that they delighted to remember him. What do I always say? Someone's thinking about you right now. You don't know who's thinking about you. It was a great surprise to Scrooge, while listening to the moaning of the wind and thinking what a solemn thing it was to move on through the lonely darkness over an unknown abyss whose depths were secrets as profound as death. It was a great surprise to Scrooge, while thus engaged, to hear a hearty laugh. It was a much greater surprise to Scrooge to recognize it as his own nephew's, and to find himself in a bright, dry, gleaming room with the spirit standing smiling by his side and looking at the same nephew with approving affability. Oh my God. So we have just gone through all that shit, right? Right? And I think I'm going to stop there. I am going to stop there because guess what? We're at the nephew's house. And we don't want to begin of what's going to happen at the nephew's house, okay? You know what I'm saying? Whoa. This is some deep stuff. So I love it because Spirit is showing Scrooge that no matter where these people are in their lives, who's got nothing, who's not with their family members, they have memories they're holding on to. They're still celebrating the feeling. They have a kind word for each other. And this is kind of like us people. Right now, we feel like we are in an abyss, right? We feel like we are traveling on a ship in a dark ocean. We don't know what the frig is going to happen. But instead of staying in that space mentally and emotionally and spiritually, we can rise out of it and hold on to the memories that bring us into a better place. And also be kind to one another and love one another. I mean, listen, I don't think I can I mean, it's the same message. So I'm not going to spend the next 10 minutes of being kind to yourself and being kind to others. But really, this is a time where we can either dwell in the darkness or find the light. You know how he said the two men that were in the lighthouse had lit the fire for a very dark, reefs and the water and everything. There is always a spark of light in the dark if you choose to look at it. So at this point in our lives, we can either stay on the course of feeling in the darkness and hate and like apathy and anger, or we can rise above that station we are in life, whether it's a financial low point, a physical low point, a mental low point, a spiritual low point, and try to muster up that feeling of, all right, I'm going to think of something that brings me joy. I'm going to find the gratitude. I'm going to realize right here, right now, that I don't control what is happening to me, right? Or the people around me, but I control my thoughts right now. And I know it is not easy. Don't think I'm sitting here telling you this is because this is the key to life. I mean, like, oh, this is just change your thoughts, change your life. No, this takes work. And this is about right now giving you positivity, because we all got to hold on for ourselves and each other. And the more that we can think of things that bring us joy, whether it's a memory from your childhood, a memory from last year, whether it's with your friends, with your family, or an ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, ex-partner, or someone currently that you're dating, doesn't make a difference. Think of it. Feel that feeling. Hold on to it so you can change the vibration. And I think, especially now, we're ending the year, let's try to find something that brings us a little cheer. As we end the year, let's try to find something that brings us a little cheer. Another rhyme. Because at this point, that's all we do control right now, is what we're thinking and what we're focusing on. So I know this isn't easy stuff, but I want you to know, once again, you are not alone in this. So today, besides the gratitude list, once again, we talked about this a few episodes ago. Think about things that have brought you great joy. And there might be even something that happened yesterday that brings you great joy. You might have had a wonderful interaction with the stranger, or you might have had a beautiful phone call. Someone called you out of the blue just to see how you were doing. You know what? Hold on to those feelings. There is kindness out there. There's love out there. So let's just trust in that. And it's like right now, not give in to the darkness. We understand it's there. We're not in denial. We can't be delusional. But we also need to right now feed ourselves the good things. So feed yourself the good things, mind, body, spirit, with good thoughts, with good memories, with good vibrations, with good foods. And know that right here, right now, you are not alone. And that I'm hoping, right here, right now, I'm hoping that you are staying healthy, that you are staying blessed, that you are staying well and sane, and knowing that I am sending you tons of light and love and peace and joy and bliss and magic and fairy dust and abundance and prosperity. And what I wish for you, I know, and what I give to you, I receive also. And I receive lovingly. Receive the love and light. Receive it lovingly, because when we can do that, we will receive more. And then also give freely, because that's a beautiful thing. Because as you so give, let me tell you, it's a wonderful gift to give, because you receive and you don't even know how much you receive. The joy in giving is the beautiful thing. So my friends, as I'm sending you all these wonderful things, I know that right here, right now, you are worthy. You are enough. You are loved. Someone is thinking about you. And until we read again.